Well, we had an incredible team with Michael Spinks, Leon Spinks. I mean, just amazing Olympians. And we brought home 5 gold medals. They didn't expect us to win any gold medal. The fact that we were so determined, we were such a family in 1976, and they elected me as the captain of the Olympic team. So it was my job to wake everyone up, all the boxers up. So I had the job of waking up Leon Spinks. And to understand Leon Spinks, he's not that easy to wake up. So there are times I would go into his room, knock on the door, and I said, Leon, do you want to run? I didn't ask him, did he have to run? And Leon was a nice guy. He really was a nice guy.
Fantastic. I mean, I didn't... you actually got through, if I remember rightly, right the way through to the final with 5-0 all the way through, didn't you?
Yes, I fought 5 times during the Olympics, and I beat the Cuban for the Olympic gold medal, which was Aldris Adames from Cuba.
Fantastic. Now, afterwards, when you decided you weren't going to go pro, didn't you? But then, can you tell us the reason why that you did in the end?
Well, as an amateur boxer, I had very fragile hands, and my hands would hurt and swell after each bout. So when I won the gold medal and standing on that pedestal, I remember like it was yesterday. I'm standing there with gold medal on my neck, and I was saying to myself, this is bad, but this is good. The good thing about it was the fact that I was a gold medal winner. The bad thing about it was the fact that I knew I was going to not turn professional because I didn't want to become a professional fighter. I was going to go to college, get an education, a better education, and get a great job. But once I got home, my dad went into a coma. My dad was severely ill. We had no money, and one of my mentors said, Ray, if you turn pro, you can make a lot of money because of your exposure. I turned professional. Within 6 months to a year, my father regained his health, and I said to myself, this is not a bad job. And I kept going. So, but in having the determination to continue, I said I want to be more than the best. I want to be special. So I trained harder than most guys. I did everything a little bit more rounds, more miles, more sit-ups. I did everything 5, 10, 20 times more than the other guy.
You were saying to me when we were sat eating earlier on that you seem to have that switch in you. When you're in the ring, you're a different person to when you're out of it. Is that part of the reason why you were hesitating about turning pro? Because you were a nice guy out of the ring, and you were finding it perhaps more difficult to be an aggressive guy in it?
Not necessarily. My mother, she still doesn't believe I was a fighter because I'm her baby boy. And I'm a very reserved, almost quiet, almost introverted kind of type of guy. But through boxing gave me a sense of self-esteem and confidence that I love people, so I'm more outspoken. But for sure, I never thought in a million years I would be in this position. Because again, during my era, I fought guys like Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, Wilfred Benitez. I fought the best out there. The best out there.
I mean, you did turn pro obviously in '77, and then by '79 you were into your first world title fight, that WBC welterweight fight with Benitez. That was a hell of a battle. Was it something that you can still remember to this day, winning that first title?
Winning the title was just so amazing because I have vivid memories of each of those major fights I've had. And I remember fighting Wilfred Benitez, and that was a tough fight because there was 15 rounds back then. And he was far more talented than I was. He was far more, I don't want to say gifted. No. Well, kind of humble, kind of. Well, he was more experienced than I was. How about that?
Yeah.
But I had more heart, and I had more determination, and I had more hand speed than he.
And yet, a year later, you had your first real setback, didn't you, with the first Duran fight?
Oh, I don't remember that. No, when I lost to Duran, and the reason I'm going to tell you guys something. The reason Duran beat me the first time was the fact that he got inside my head, meaning psychological warfare. First of all, the fight was a huge global fight. It was a major event. And when I first met Duran at the press conference, he looked at me, and because there was somewhat of a communication gap, he looked at me and he gave me all these finger gestures and everything, grabbing himself and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, what is this about? Because I was always taught that when there's a camera, you always smile. You know? So I was smiling while he was calling me, you son of a bitch, you this and that. And I'm like, thank you. But it was really hurting me as a man because he was disrespecting me. And then he would curse me, and then he would curse my wife. And although it was in Spanish, there was no translation necessary. I mean, he was really being a thug. And so during the fight, or prior to the fight, I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to beat him at his own game. I'm going to stand toe-to-toe and beat this guy down. And I'm stubborn. So when things lock inside my head, it's over. And in the ring, the bell rung, and I went towards him. I was going to box him. Then someone said, no, let's just follow through. And I stood there toe-to-toe. And they called him Manos de Piedras, which means hands of stone. He hit me so hard. I mean, I've never been hit that hard. Body shots, hit. After the fight was over with, I had contusions, I had bumps and knots all over my whole body. The doctor came to my room and used like a hypodermic needle and drew blood from my ears so there wouldn't be cauliflower. That is the most excruciating pain. I mean, even then I considered or contemplated retirement because it was so much pain. I went through that. I went home. I took my wife to Hawaii. We were there for we were scheduled to be there for 2 weeks. But while I was running on the beach, you know, that third, fourth day, you know, people kept saying, hey, Sugar Man, if you had boxed around, you would have beat him. Hey, Sugar Man, why didn't you fight your fight? I'm running. And I said, why didn't I fight my fight? So I got back to the room. And I told my wife, I said, you're not going to believe this. She said, what? I said, and she looked at me. She said, you want to fight Duran again? I said, you betcha. So I called my attorney. I said, Mike, I want to fight Duran as soon as possible. And another reason I want to fight him as soon as possible was because when he was not fighting, he was eating and drinking. And Duran would go from 147 to 200 pounds in probably 2 days. So, there's another guy, I think his name is Ricky Hatton. I love Ricky, but you can't do that. But Duran did that, so by then he was trying to get that weight off. And the second fight, I mean, you guys know what happened in No Mas. And by the way, before I came here, I was in Panama. I was part of a documentary they were doing about Roberto Duran. And we asked each other in the ring, nose to nose. I said, Roberto, you know, so what exactly happened in New Orleans, the No Mas fight, the alleged No Mas fight? Did you say No Mas? He gave me the coldest look, and he said, no, I was a little heavy, and I took diuretics, and I got a cramp. I said, I respect that, man. I accept that. Bullshit, but I respect that. I respect that.
Certainly put him in place. We move on to 81, the first, the middleweight, junior middleweight, and your second world title. There was controversy, wasn't there, over the stoppage time, whether he should have been saved by the bell. Were you actually conscious of that at the time, or was it only sort of afterwards?
Which fight was that?
The middleweight, the second title.
The Kululi fight?
Yeah.
Oh, he was.
I am Kululi.
You did?
I am Kululi.
Oh, are you Kululi? Oh, are you Kululi? Yes.
He don't know, but I'll tell you.
Thank you.
You can come and take over.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I'll do a better job.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that question.
Well, okay. Let's take it off. Let's take it on a little bit later that year with the showdown then. I'm sure you remember, that one. Showdown with Tommy Hearns. Voted Fighter of the Year. You were Fighter of the Year. What are your memories of that, really?
That was my most difficult, or one of my most difficult fights, Tommy Hearns, 1981. Because making the weight at 147 was no problem for me. But Tommy was because he's such a freak of nature. Any of you guys have seen this guy in person, you see he couldn't stand up here. He's a tall, huge